We're ready. We're
Awesome.
live to the world.
Awesome, guys. Welcome to Wealth Wednesday. Jody Humphrey here at the beautiful headquarters in Atlanta, and I'm so proud to be part of this company. I can't stand it. I tell you what. And we're here, obviously, with the great Kimberly Odie and Zach Odie helping us run point on this, and all the other great leaders that are on the call. And we're growing an army of crusaders, guys, and that's so exciting. It's interesting how life you're either going to humble yourself or God's going to humble you, and life has its ways of doing that, right? And I'm just in a very invigorated, powerful, focused mode in my life. Whatever level I was at last week, you can count on it being about two or three times today. But we're going to start out talking about the power of being a crusader. Um, you know, uh, Unfortunately, some of you may have heard that we had one of my all-time top leaders, maybe the best guy I ever had. You could make a case for that, but was killed in a car wreck a week ago, and we had his funeral 2 days ago. And Greg drove down from Kansas because he's who recruited Greg. He's who led me to Greg, and it was very powerful, wonderful event. But my point for today is this: is that it reminded me of he was a crusader first and foremost. He was a guy who really believed that covering families and living benefits were a calling. That literally that feeling permeated kind of what he did, and honestly, that was his superpower. That was what he was about. He really believed that, and it really relit that flame in me. And I want you guys to realize the power of this. I'm really excited about today because it's going to be a very simplistic, um, but very powerful presentation, because Kimberly's going to walk you through some things in a few minutes that I think anybody can do. It's a conversation anybody can have. It's very important. Sometimes you might see some product information, or you may see, a piece of technology that you're intimidated by or whatever. I understand that. But what we do is very simple. And our concepts are simple, and the conversations can be very simple. I think you're going to be really excited about that. People are always clamoring. The number one question I'm asked in my career is, what do I say? I'm asked that question constantly. What do I say? How to recruit? What do I say if I'm, creating a customer scenario, a solution scenario? Well, today we're going to talk about some great verbiage in a simplistic way when you're having that conversation. Now, Mauricio has finalized that great first presentation, per se, the actual flip chart. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the conversation that goes around it. And you're going to really enjoy that today. But I want to just talk to you a little bit about where we come from. The whole movement that we're now the third trilogy, if you will, of the story came from an incredible crusading moment. Art Williams was an incredibly passionate guy. And by the way, if you ask me, when I'm looking at somebody and I'm trying to decide whether or not they can do this business, I try to find out their passion level. How deep does it burn? And I had a conversation with James right before this call. We had a guy here last night, nice guy, but I'm like, how much fire's there? And I think I'm asking people, what you got in you? How bad do you want to win? And it can be in extroverted people, introverted people, doesn't matter. But how deep is that fire? That's what happens on a football field. A coach reads what's inside those young men and knows what's happening, right? And young women. And so here, that's the way this crusade is. Art Williams was a very passionate man, lived down in South Georgia, lived in Columbus, Georgia at the time. He's from Cairo, Georgia. And his father died an untimely death in his 40s. And his family was grossly underinsured, and he watched his mother struggle. He watched his mother have to go, not have the life that she wanted to live, had to go do some things that she didn't want to do, and it really bothered him to a level that he lost sleep over it. And he was introduced a concept by his cousin, who was a CPA, at a family reunion, that basically said, "Do you know what term insurance is?" And this is when term insurance was very very new in its concept. Hardly anyone knew of it, hardly anyone sold it. And he said, look, did you realize that for the same money that your mom got 30, $40,000 in coverage, she could have got $250,000 or 300 or 400,000. And he's like, that can't be, it can't be true, because that sparked a conversation. You never know when a conversation is going to spark an absolute revolution. And it absolutely enraged Art whenever he found that was true. And he was out telling everybody. He was like the Pied Piper, and he just kept telling everybody about it while he was a football coach, sending them to his cousin. Now, his cousin came back and said, hey, I'm making a fortune off your referral, so you might want to do this too. But it came from the crusade. It came from around being needed to be right, be made right. And that is the feeling that has got to be in you in this business. You got to have a passion for the mission and a submission to the system. Well, we don't talk a lot about the passion to the mission. We're going to double and triple and quadruple down on this thing, because it is what we are. We are the keepers of that, and we've got to be leading with that energy, because it's powerful, it's contagious, and it's absolutely necessary, because you have to have that crusading mentality to overcome people's complacency. You got to realize you're battling complacency. You battling people being scared. You're battling all these things, and you got to cut through the noise and really move people to action. And that comes from your passion. So, the crusade side, that has evolved. The original crusade was buy, term, and invest the difference. A very simple war cry that has lasted now, almost whatever it's been. It's been 50 years, basically over 50, 55 years. And that's going strong. It's still a viable, incredible crusade. Now, it's not the all-consuming. You got to realize at that time, buy, term, and invest the difference was the best concept every single time if it was executed. No doubt. Now, there's been evolutions through that. And along the way, WFG came along and had its crusade for a while. And that was where you still had buy, term, invest the difference, but you had the VUL product, which was its crusade. Well, what is our crusade today? Our crusade today really is, and there's lots of them, but there's three very simple ones. One is getting people protected. The fact that gap is, so you have people that are not protected in any way, and then you've got the other group that are grossly underprotected. And then within that, you have the second crusade, which is living benefits. Understand that is the greatest story still going in American business. It's still the simplest, most exciting thing. If you wanted the surefire thing to tell people that they would go, oh, I need that. That's that. I mean, people don't go, no one ever says, no, I don't need living benefits. I don't think anyone has ever said that to me, or I don't know of anybody having that said to them. So getting them covered, and I love listening to guys like Matt Salvatore and others that really believe in this, and so, and you can hear them talking about how people got to be protected. And sometimes we just all shy away from that and go to, we don't want to sound like insurance guys or whatever. Can get over ourselves. I mean, Crusader's different. Get out there with that crusade. So get them covered. Everybody, what do they all say? Everybody needs $1 million term. I believe that every adult needs $1 million term policy, especially if you're under 50. It's pennies on the dollar, right? Nothing. Second thing is living benefits. And the third crusade is the battle for taxation. Make sure people are not, put at risk because of taxation issues, and that's where IULs and all those things come to be, and longevity that goes with that, with annuities. Guys, become crusaders. Get excited about that. Tim, I saw that you just joined. We'll give you a couple of minutes. I know you're north of the border, and we're excited. We'd like to, in maybe a couple of weeks, have you come on and really tell us what's going on up there so that we can really attack it. We got a lot of people that are wanting to get involved in that. I know that Sam Mitchell, who was Dawn's husband, was a coach of the year with the NBA and up there. And so he's got a great market. And I know there's many others. So Tim, take a second. Tell us what's happening up there and how you doing.
Yeah. Hey, Jody. Actually, I'm heading up there right now. I've got meetings with all of the new providers who are going to be offering up there to all of our agents. So So I'll have a lot more next week. Probably would be a good time to do a big download on Canada. And we're having some meetings up there this weekend. So I think the big kickoff for Canada is happening right now. So this is exciting times. You know, the way I look at Canada, guys, is this marks a big turning point for HCI. You know, it's a big shift to now. You know, we've always been a Canadian company, international company, as you all know, but this is a chance for us to really grow and dominate up there because we got a new partner in Card Financial Group, which is they're a huge number one company out there in Canada, and I think they're going to provide the partnership and the means for us to really grow and be a strong foundation and provide success up there in Canada. So the Kirk is the CEO and founder, and he you know, he's an independent group. We had a lot of choices up there, different providers, and they're the best. They have 32 companies. You know, they have all the companies. They're in all the provinces. So I think this is going to be a great foundation to grow off of. So the time is now for Canada. We're going to unleash some power up there. Jody's going to be up there. A lot of leaders going to be up there. Aki's coming up this weekend. So we're going to turn on the gas. We're going to plow ahead and really take off up there. So we're excited, really excited. Real quick on the markets, you know, we're seeing some fighting going on right now in Congress about, you know, the budget and everything, because the Republicans gotta somehow balance, or the budget is the big thing right now, and trying to decrease the national debt. That's kind of what they went to do when they got elected, and so that's what's going on right now. Is the Republicans, as you know, have control, and they've got to get this thing approved and get it through. And so that's kind of what's going on. And market's kind of quiet. I don't think we're seeing a lot going on in the markets overall. It's just kind of a quiet time. So I think it's just status quo. So you're going to see a lot of volatility still. And that's kind of what we're seeing at the moment here, is just sideways movement. And I think it's going to continue for the foreseeable future. Inflation is still the big question. The tariffs, there's a lot of things being played out right now in the markets, and we still don't know what the outcome is. I think the general feeling of the CEOs of the companies out there is we're going to have a recession. I still believe we are. Dietrich still believes we are. I mean, everything I'm reading, everything I'm seeing, inflation is still coming back. I mean, unemployment's going to be rising. All the things are perfect right now for this switch to happen. And so and I've been preaching this for a while. This is kind of where we're going, Jody. And I think it's kind of the dog wagging the tail that's going to pop, and it's just going to be a matter of time when it starts to unravel. So
that's awesome.
Back to you, big guy.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And guys, if you don't know, that's Tim O'Rourke. Tim is first of all, he's our partner. He's part of Team Legacy. He's an RMD himself, actually, with the code number, but he's actually is in the role here of having really his finger on the pulse of what's going on in the American economy. And then also he is heading up things in Canada, and he's also our chief compliance officer, and he's one of a kind, super guy. Very, very, very proud to have him. I think it's a big resource to have him on here every week. I really do. One other thing I want to show real quick, if I can. I'm pulling something up here to show you. Just want to make sure that I can have this ready for you. Here we go. I want to make sure that you know what's coming up this next week. This will be on the 28th. I will be in Miami. That's a week from tonight. and it's good. And we're sending this out to everyone on WhatsApp, but just so you'll know all the information, we're going to be having a Super Bop that night from, Mozone obviously started about 6 or 6:30, but from 7 to 9, and we'll be featuring the key leaders in the area. I'm going to be doing the overview, but it's going to be a fantastic night we got all kinds of teams going there. They've even got some teams that from Aki's team that's going to be coming over there as well. So we got this great event here. I'm pictured the ring earners that are there. Zyra's not pictured there, but you got Zyra, Valentina, Luna. You've got Rafael Garcia, Herson, and then Stephanie Brizzi, and of course Umberto. It's Umberto's birthday today, by the way. For those of you that communicate with him, reach out to him, let him know how much we love him and care for him. But that's exciting. So that's next week. Okay. Next Wednesday night. Then also here, hang on a second. Sorry. We go to the new library here I just created here. In Atlanta, we're going to be doing the ultimate takeover, and we're sexying this slide up a little bit more, and it'll be coming out to you today. Colton's working on it right now, finish it up. But if you can see the dates at the bottom here, I'll make this a little bigger for you to see. The first night, what we're doing in Atlanta is that we're going to 4 different areas and kind of taking over. It'd be, Caesar, is something we probably could do down in Florida next time. We can have a bop in Doral, have a bop in, different Homestead, have a bop in, up at, in Weston, and then 3 of them, because you can get the people there in Atlanta is that way. So on the first night on Monday, the 9th of June, we're going to be in the northwestern part of Atlanta in Marietta. The next night, we will be in Buckhead area for the Buckhead Club. That's Tuesday night. The next night, we'll be in the Gwinnett area, up in the Akias, just in the northeast area. And then we'll be here at the home office that Thursday night. And then also that Saturday, we'll be having a boot camp here in Atlanta. So really excited about that. And also, those of you that have people in Nashville, I will be having this flyer out this afternoon. I was hoping to have it by the middle of this call, but on next Tuesday, which is the not next Tuesday, sorry, 2 Tuesdays from now, which is the 3rd, I believe. It's June the 3rd. I will be in Nashville for the launch of Nashville. So send your people there if you have anybody in that area. It's a phenomenal market, great city. We've got some great leaders that have emerged there. So that's the announcements there. Crusade. Get that crusading shot. Remember, our crusade, what is a crusade? It's something that you just, is a cause. It's that feeling. It's you think of the people who have given their lives for crusades, on religious crusades and things like that. This is important stuff. I can't think of any business thing that you could take to somebody that's more important than this. I mean, obviously their marriage and their family and their spiritual being is above us, but nothing else. You can't tell me another product that is more important and where you can make a living. I'll grant you the health business is a pretty important business too, but there's a lot of broke healers, and there's not a lot of ways you can go make money selling all the different products. So here, let's go make it happen.
Hi.
So
My son is
Kimberly,
just
I'll
here.
turn it
My
over to
grandson
you.
is here for testing, but they're in the cafeteria.
Hey,
So do I
Jody.
need to
I got it.
No, I was just on the Crusader note. It's so amazing when you think about that and talking about people that are in need of this opportunity. Kimberly and I wouldn't be sitting here, and we wouldn't have been in this industry for the last 20 plus years, 22 years now, if it wasn't for Jeannie. And thinking about people and their crusading spirit and all those kind of things. There wasn't a single person. I knew when we were in public with her, I could guarantee you that anybody that stood still for more than 5 seconds in her vicinity, she was going to be talking to them about the business, about what she does in her own way, right? The crusade was massive for her. Her story obviously only grew with the living benefits story that was unfortunate for that. But I mean, she was a true crusader as well. And I think that that's a major switch that when people flip that, then all of the other objections, all the other fears of rejection, all those things go right out the window. And I think it's a very empowering thing to become a crusader. So I think that's very poignant right now that we're talking about that, and that we all get revived in that crusading spirit, because we have unfortunately seen how things can change for a family overnight. And the only thing worse than being emotionally devastated and losing your family member is also on top of that being financially devastated and having to sell houses and change schools and do those kind of things. So it's a very, very, very important calling that we have. It's not a sales job, in my opinion. We just happen to sell things. So anyway,
absolutely, man, this is a big deal. This may be one of the most important calls that we've had, guys. And I'm not over exaggerating this, because this is a culture adjustment that will be made now, swiftly, powerfully, and permanently. It is that important. And, Greg, I didn't even know whether to bring this up or not, because it gets me emotional to even talk about it. I thought about it last night. And that is, I wish you guys could have heard this guy, Jeff Huggins, the way he spoke about the product. Well, the closest thing we have to that's Greg. That's a lot of pressure to put on you, Greg, because hearing Greg is his verbiage is very true. A lot of you guys, when you first heard Greg Smith, you're like, good grief, this guy's, where did he learn all this stuff? It's because he was born into the crusade. You want to comment on that, Greg?
Yeah, man, it's everything. You could be a crusader, or you could be a salesman. And I think too many people try to be salesmen instead of going out and really trying to find what you can do to help somebody. Robert and I were having this conversation literally before the call. It's not so much, what you say to people, it's how you say it. We talked about physiology, and I talked to another guy, Chris Wright, about this as well, too. You've got to have that passion. You've got to have that sincere desire to help people. And I think too many people don't have that. It's all about how much money can they make per sale or whatever. But if you go out and help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Absolutely. The old Zig Ziglar way of life.
You know it.
But I want to say one thing too, is how many people do you think were there the other day at the funeral? It was a lot.
300 probably.
It was several hundred people. I mean, it may have been 300. It could have been 300, 400, 500. I don't know. It was a full big place. Okay. And would you say that was a perfect target market group?
Oh,
pretty sharp.
Wow.
I mean, listen, it was beautiful people. There was sharp people. Eights out of tens in far of whatever you'd write on a list. 8s and 9s. I mean, they were sharp people. And I'm thinking, what is the things we get embarrassed about that we don't want to be judged by? We're like, oh my God, I don't want to sound like I'm sales. And I don't want to sound like a recruiter. They celebrated from the pulpit, unabashed, that this dude was going to sell you some insurance and he was going to recruit anybody. They even said, James Hahn, God bless him, said that Jeff's recruiting in heaven. He goes, I don't know where he's at, but I guarantee he's recruiting somebody. Listen, get over our own things that are in our head. If you go honor something, you're the best at it, man. The best people, you could not have better people respect you than was in that room. And they were there following this, paying homage to a guy and buying from and following a guy who was unabashed. What I do is protect families. Everybody needs it. And come on and go join my business and my crusade. So get bold on that. Nelson, you have something?
Yes, that note, I just want to add something real quick as far as, the new agent that joined our crusade, right? And it's phenomenal that she's, traveling overseas right now, and she just take the time since last night and this morning, take some notes and write me, right? She's going to be out of the country for like 2 weeks, but she's just so connected. And, she, first of all, she say, well, I waste a lot of time in the past without the proper products and training and support, right? And she was actually mentioned that she loved the call last night. That was a real opportunity meeting, right? The one that we have yesterday with Jody and Mauricio. And in her past company, we'll only do those meetings once a year. And once the company start falling apart, it was a nightmare, right? Zero momentum. So she's kind of committed to, hey, let's try to recruit XY people. I'm not going to say the number in 90 days, but she's, talking about double digits and the excitement that we want to build. and not only for just selling the product as we mentioned here. It just building a legacy for everybody, because that's the beauty of this business, right?
Yeah. It's all where you come from, because you were raised in the Primerica world, and you know it. Caesar, same thing, and some others that are here, guys. If we go hit this with all the other stuff we have, it's over. And I'm excited about that. I can feel that. So, Kimberly, I know you have some wonderful things, a great conversation prepared for them. So I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, well, that the passion and the crusade and this conversation is why I'm here. I guess because Jeannie recruited us, right? And she drove it down to our core. And it's just how we've been raised in this business. And I wish for all of you that you have that much conviction and belief and passion in what we do, not just for families, but our opportunity as well. For any of you that are out there doing these financial needs analysis and looking at people's financial conversations and their situation, they're not prepared, right? They're not prepared. They don't have enough saved for retirement, and they don't have time or money to make that happen. So what is their option? And in my opinion, their best option ever in the history of the world is our business. I promise you that no one that I've worked with through the years has ever had more fun than they've had with working with us, even if they're not here anymore. If you call them and ask them some of the most fun times of their life, they will say this business. I promise you. So remember that when you're out there talking to people. It obviously changed my life. Super passionate about what we do, both on the recruiting side and obviously helping people with their financial plans. So I want to talk to you guys today about our products and concept side, right? Like we want to talk about that today. And I want some of this to be interactive, because what we talk about and what we do for families, we talk about giving them financial education, right? We teach people how money works. That's one of the scripts that we use when people say, hey, what do you do? I teach people how money works. It's very easy to say that, right? Not I'm a financial advisor and I'm smarter than you. I teach people how money works, right? Very simple, very easy conversation to have. But in saying that, how do we teach people how money works? And I want you guys to kind of talk through this with me. What are opportunities for them to learn how money works? Are y'all all quiet today?
I was just going to say that whenever I'm going through a financial needs analysis with somebody, a lot of times I'll have ready to pull up the core financial concepts brochure or the how to win the money game brochure, just because it has a couple of those very easy, simple to understand concepts that are going to drive home the points that we're trying to make with them and the discipline that we want them to start taking, which is like the rule of 72, compounding interest. And Albert Einstein, I said it was the eighth wonder of the world, but he also said that for those who understand it, they earn it. Those who don't, pay it. We want them to get out of credit card debt. And I think that just punctuates that point. So that the little chart about starting early, what was the 25-year-old of, 8% versus somebody waiting, 6 or 8 years and starting in their 30s. Those are all powerful concepts that they need to know. Exactly. Time is your friend when you're investing. Time and interest rates, minimizing taxes. So they need to know some of the, so those are the ways that I teach people.
And in that example, I think those are great examples. We have the brochures, we have all of those things, but you're teaching them individually in a conversation with them about their personal financial plan, right? Absolutely. What are other ways we teach people how money works? Have you ever done a seminar? Have you ever done a How Money Works seminar? Have you ever had an economic summit that we bring everybody in? This event that we're having in Atlanta and Miami and all these places, how else are we going to teach them? Lunch and Learns, TikTok, right? A lot of you guys are on TikTok. A lot of you guys do Instagram Reels. So we teach how money works all of the time, right? That is a big part about what we do. But when we're not in those big settings, I think the best way we teach people how money works is in their own personal financial plan, because that is what matters to them most, right? Who cares more about your money than you do? No one. And I hope you guys are writing down some of these like taglines and some of these phrases. I say that to clients all the time is, who cares about your money more than you do? And the answer is no one. And I say that and repeat that back to them because I want them to know this is about them. This is their choice. This is their conversation, and they've got to choose. And I also tell them that it's my job to teach you your choices. It's your job to choose, right? I'm going to tell you all the things you can invest in based on what you have right now, but it's your job to choose what makes so much sense to you. So in going through that, I'm going to pull this up really quickly, but I would like for you guys to be interactive with me today. And I probably should have just asked you first, right? What are the 6 steps? So you guys know, let me find this little full screen thing. You guys know that we have 2 sides to our business, right? We have the distribution side, which are our outlets, which are our people. Like if you had a McDonald's, that's your multiple McDonald's out there, right? Distributing our products out to the world, distributing our opportunity out to the world. And that's the left side. But on the financial side of our business, with the end consumer, with the users that we go out and we help with their financial plan, we have 6 steps that we go through every single time. The first is increasing cash flow. The second is debt management. The third is emergency fund. The fourth is proper protection. The fifth is building wealth. And the sixth is preserving wealth. Some of you guys have seen me go back on a second appointment. The first appointment's a conversation, right? And it's exactly what Greg said. It is not what you say, it is how you say it. It is making sure that they know that you are serious about what you're doing, that you're passionate about what you're doing, that you want to help them. I don't care if I sell a product, right? I have a client that probably is going to be able to retire this year, but not because I can sell her anything. I can probably sell her a term policy, right? That's about it. But I promise you, I just shaved 10 years off of her working life because I know things that she had no idea about how to combine 2 different pensions and make that happen. That is so much more important to me than making $100 or $500 or whatever on that term policy. And I think that she'll send us so much business from that. So as we sit down with clients and sit down with families, we go through those 6 steps. Our first conversation is just a conversation, right? It's getting to know you, really having that connection and understanding who you are, what your goals and dreams are, and that snapshot of where you are. That second appointment, when we come back, is really where we go through each of those areas and we teach them how money works for them on their money, right? So I want to go through each of those areas and I want to talk through what I say to clients. You guys have seen me, a lot of times you've seen me pull up that little, we call it a financial lifestyle strategy that literally goes through increasing cash flow, controlling debt, emergency fund, and takes their information and puts it in there and gives them recommendations and suggestions. Mauricio has that in the calculator now that hopefully we can get it all tweaked so it's just something you plug in and it spits it out to you. But ultimately it is the same thing. That is where you are teaching them. That is where you're educating them on what their options are in this business. So if step number 1 is increasing cash flow, what do we say to people? And I'm actually going to pull up a form that we have that's just a generic form. But what do we say to people in the increasing cash flow section? What are some of the words that we're going to say? The first thing that I'm going to tell them is that regardless of, let me take out this girl's info, regardless of how much money they make, if they aren't in a situation to make the amount to do what they want to do, they have to make more money, right? Every single person that I ever meet with needs to make more money. The problem isn't that they can't manage the money that they have. The problem is that they don't have enough money, right? So, and I think Aki said this from stage one time. He said people spend 95% of their time looking at their budget, looking at their expenses, looking at their spreadsheet, right? And they're like, okay, I bring $10,000 a month in, I have $8,500 a month going out. What am I doing with this extra $1,500? I need $2,500 a month to retire. Where can I find that $1,000? And instead of thinking about where they can find that $1,000, that's when they go into their budget and they say, well, I can stop eating out as much. I can maybe switch from AT&T to T-Mobile because they're cheaper. I can cut my cable bill and go into streaming only if anybody still has cable anymore, which most people don't. They're paying the same amount on all those streaming services, but that's a whole different conversation. But they start looking at what they can do away with to have more money in their budget. And they literally spend 95% of the time when they're focused on their income looking at how they can make the same amount that they have coming in go further. Why not spend 95% of your time looking at how to make more money? We know where that money's going. We know that it is committed. We know that you probably can't squeeze too much more out of it and still pay for everything that you have going on in your life, right? So people's problem isn't that they can't manage the money they have. And I would write it down because this is what I say to my clients every single time. People's problem isn't that they can't manage the money they have. It's that, sorry, when it comes up on the chats, I'm like, what do I say? Anyway, it's not that they can't manage the money that they have, it's that they need to make more money, and they need to understand that, and we need to talk to them about that from day one, from moment one. So in that increasing cash flow section, some things that I tell them, just because remember, we are delivering value. We want to make sure that when we talk to you, we're going to deliver value and we're going to give you education, because that's what our goal is, right? It's teaching how money works. We're going to give you education so you can do better. So one of the things that I teach them is that they need to use a budgeting app, whether it's Quicken or Pocket Guard or YNAB or some spreadsheet that they have. It doesn't really matter to me. And I don't care if they know where every single dollar goes. I care that they have a general idea of where their money goes every single month, right? And I tell them, I just want you to be able to look at a pie chart and go, oh, I spent way too much on Amazon last month. I probably should reel that in, right? Because most people are not detail oriented. Most people do not know where every single penny goes. But if your apps are trained to do that, it's very intuitive now. It's just going to do that for you, right? So that's one of the conversations that I have. I teach them under increasing cash flow, considering how to budget for their needs, their wants, and their savings. And we teach them about the 50-30-20 plan. 50% of your income should go towards your needs. Your needs are housing, food, clothing, medical expenses, things that you need. You have to have it. Wants are things like, I'm going out to dinner. I want to watch Netflix. I want to go to the movies. I want to have a vacation. And that should be 30% of your income, and then 20% of your income to savings. So that way it gives people a clear idea of how much money they can afford to set aside, or they should be setting aside on a monthly basis. And if they aren't, they can reposition that. But again, step number one is increasing cash flow. What is the best way we can give them, the biggest opportunity we can give them to increase their cash flow?
Or with us.
Come with us. Why not, right? Come with us. I don't care if you write an app a month, you're going to make an extra $1,300 a month, right? If you're at the beginning contract level and our compensation system, an app a month, $300 is $1,300. So that's a lot of money, or maybe $1,600, I don't remember. But that's a lot of money that they can make doing a little bit of business. Can they change their lives? Can they change their stars? Yes, absolutely. But I always tell them in that initial conversation when I'm teaching them on this increasing cash flow conversation that they have to make more money. And I believe, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm delusional, maybe I'm selfish, maybe I'm a crusader, that this is the best opportunity for anyone to do that anywhere. And I'll also say, I mean, you can go have an Etsy store, you can go cut lawns, you can go flip things from the thrift store to eBay. I don't really care what you do. I just want you to start learning about making more money, because that is your issue, is you don't make enough, so you can't afford to save, so you're never going to retire. And they hear me and they think about that. So step number 2 is controlling debt. Obviously, that's typically credit cards, car loans, student loans. Their mortgage goes there too. And we talk about that. I don't think mortgages are bad debt. I think they're good debt. We can talk about that later and strategies behind that. Car loans are installment loans, and typically, it's amortized. So all that interest is going to be calculated up front anyway. But when we're talking about credit cards and student loans and things like that, the pieces of education that I give them is, number one, only overpay one credit card at a time. I see so many people with 5 credit cards and they pay each credit card an extra $25 a month. instead of paying one credit card an extra $125 a month. If they just take that one little tweak of education, I'm not making any money off of that, right? I'm just teaching them. But if they take that one little tweak and they take that 125 and just pay it to the smallest balance. I don't even care about interest rates, honestly. I just want to get that debt gone as quickly as possible. And then when that's done, roll that up to the next card in line. Their debt will go away so much faster than they ever thought possible. But when you split it out over 5 different cards and you pay each one of them a little bit, you're really prolonging everything. And that's an emotional conversation. Remember, money is not emotional. Money is mathematical, right? But for people, it is emotional. So we have to take the emotion out of it and we have to teach them the math behind it and say, if you really want to get out of debt, this is going to do it faster than if you split it up between those 5 cards, even though I know emotionally that seems counterintuitive. I also teach them in this section to put every single one of their credit reporting liabilities on auto pay for the minimum payment. I don't want you to pay off your credit cards every single month on auto pay because you could get in trouble with that, right? But I do want your $25 a month credit card minimum payments on auto pay. I've seen so many people that mess up their credit because they just didn't realize that, a payment was due, or they were traveling, or they were sick in the hospital or something, and something got missed, right? It is so simple now with the world that we have. Just put it on auto pay for the minimum, and you can always overpay it and pay that extra payment on your own schedule. And then the other piece of education that I give them here is to review your bank and credit card statements every 6 months. Obviously, hopefully you do it more than that, but in our digital world, most people don't. But at minimum, every 6 months, just say, okay, in January and June, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to go through my credit cards and my bank statements and, everything that has money coming in and going out. And I'm going to look and I'm going to see, what that does for them, right? Like, are there recurring payments out there that I'm just spending that I forgot about? That happens all the time. I had that the other day with my kids with Audible. I think we'd spent like $100 at Audible, and we hadn't even bought a book at Audible because we didn't know we had an Audible subscription, right? I'm like, who bought Audible? Oh, it was a free trial because I needed this book and then I forgot to cancel it. We all do that, right? So be good stewards of your money and go through that. But outside of that, those educational pieces for debt management, what are some options that we have that we can teach them strategies to get out of debt? Anybody have any solutions that they want to talk about? You just want me to keep teaching you? Okay. I'm going to keep teaching you. Did you say something, Jody? No. I'm going to keep teaching you. If you want to chime in or think of something different, think of something different. But obviously, we can give them the education. If they have money they can afford to set aside and they have a lot of debt, maybe we split that between investing and debt payment. But if they have a home and if they have equity, a HELOC is a great option, right? It is not free. It's not going to be, 2% or something like that. But let's say a HELOC is going to cost them 11 or 12%. Is that better than the 30% that they're paying on their credit cards? Yes, absolutely, 100%, right? It makes sense to do it that way as long as they're disciplined to pay that extra off, right? And to get rid of that. Gail, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say absolutely yes, and tax deductible. So
yeah, for sure. Your interest is tax deductible, and proceeds from a loan, as we know, are not taxable either. So that's not going to count against you as income or anything from that perspective. So that's a great strategy to think about and to look at. What about a 401k loan? If they've got all this debt and they've got a ton of money sitting in their current 401k, if it's an old 401k, we cannot borrow from it because they're no longer with their employer, okay? But if they have a current 401k, maybe we borrow from that 401k, we pay off those credit cards, and then we pay our 401k loan back because then we're paying ourselves back, right? We're giving ourselves that interest, and that debt that just we can't seem to catch up and can't seem to get in front of goes away. Imagine just the mental shift, because money isn't emotional, it's mathematical, but it's emotional, right? Imagine the mental shift to know that you are credit card debt free. Imagine that, right? Imagine the savings that you're going to free up. If you're paying $1,500 a month to credit cards and your 401k loan's $500 a month, Now you as the agent have $1,000 a month you can afford to put somewhere else. Maybe you put 500 in savings. Maybe you put 500 in, to an investment. Figure that out, whatever is best for them. But ultimately, there are options, there are solutions. Your job is to teach them. It's their job to choose, right? Step number 3 is emergency fund. In emergency funds, how much should people have set aside in a liquid account? Liquid means fully accessible. That is not an annuity. An annuity is not liquid. A home is not liquid, right? Something like a savings account or something like that they can reach in and access. How much money should they set aside in their emergency fund?
6 to 12 months of income.
We say typically 3 to 6 in our structure. I think anything more than that is awesome. But in doing that, I say of income as well, just like James just did. I know other people say expenses. I was talking to Matt Salvatore about this, and I was just because it was a philosophical conversation we were having, and I was like, do you think people should have 3 to 6 months of income saved or 3 to 6 months of expenses saved? Because conceptually, that's 2 different things. And he said he always says income, and I say that too. But the reason is because if I ask you, if we're doing your F&A, and I say, how much can you afford to set aside on a monthly basis to reach your goals and dreams? Most people give me a very small number that they can afford to set aside, which means regardless of what their expenses are, they don't actually have any extra money, so they need every penny of their income. Sometimes we can do that because they can afford to set aside some money and we reposition it. Sometimes we can do that from, overpayment of credit cards or, 401k contributions, things like that. Sometimes we go back to step 1 and we say, hey, you got to make more money, right? I know you need 3 to 6 months income, but you don't have any money to save, so you got to go make more money. Come work with me. Go cut grass. Go to do an Etsy store. I don't care. Just make more money. Step number 4 is proper protection, right? That is life insurance. It does not matter to me if someone has life insurance through work. I ask the questions, right? Because I don't want to be disrespectful and I write it down. But most of the time, I do not include that as insurance when I'm telling them how much money they need. What formula do we use to decide how much life insurance someone needs?
Dime.
The DIME, which stands for
Debt, income, mortgage, education.
Mortgage and education.
perfect. Debt, income, mortgage, and education. So if I have $30,000 worth of credit card debt, that is debt, right? If I owe $250,000 on my, I did income. Let's say I make $100,000 a year in income. At minimum, I'm going to calculate 10 years of income replacement to make sure that I don't leave my family in a financial situation. So that's $1 million. 100,000 times 10 is $1 million. Add that to my 30,000. I'm already at $1,030,000. If my mortgage is 250,000, then that's another 250,000 that I need. And if I'll just say I have 1 kid, and our DIME just calculates $15,000 a year per child. You can make that whatever you'd like for it to be, but let's just say that's 60,000. So now I've got my debt is 30,000, my income is $1 million, my mortgage is 250, and my education is 60. So what is that? 1.2, 1.3, so $1,340,000 worth of life insurance that you need right now. If you already have a permanent policy, I'm going to say awesome. I'd like to look at it. I want to make sure that it was written correctly, but I'm not going to replace good life insurance. If it's good, we're going to leave that piece, right? So let's say they have 350,000 somewhere else. I'm going to give them something for the extra $1 million. But I want you to see how easy it is to literally go through each of these sections and take what we know about our products and services, offer value and education, and close all that business and have them to be your client forever. Step number 5 is building wealth. I call that sexy money. That's what people want to do first, right? They're like, make me rich. Okay, fine, but we have to make sure we have the proper foundation in place, which is steps 1 through 4. I always teach them about the proper foundation. If you're building a house, you're not going to build the walls first. You're not going to decorate the inside first. You're going to make sure your foundation is solid and stable so that when we do build those walls or decorate the inside of it, it does not come crumbling down around us. Exactly the same thing in your financial world. So step number 5 is building wealth. That's where we talk about their current assets, right? Their current 401k, how much you have in there, how much you're contributing, how much is matched. If they are overpaying that, that's where that gives me, let's say that they're matched 3% and they're putting in 6%. Well, that means I have 3% that I can redirect somewhere that I think is a better place, right? So that gives me 3% to put back into something else that I'm planning out there. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, maybe they have that out there. Maybe they have an annuity. Anything that they have in that section, I'm going to write it down, and then I'm going to look for 2 things when I'm looking through their entire F&A to decide how I can help them in that section. What are the 2 things I'm looking for building wealth?
Monthly
What's
money
your
and lump sum money.
Lump sums and monthly money. Gail, you must be on my team. All right, you can't answer any
I
more
was just
questions.
gonna say it.
I've been
I
trying
was like,
to.
Gail, you can't answer any more questions. Monthly money and lump sum money, right? If they have lump sum money, is it doing what it's supposed to do, or should I reposition that for them? We've got annuities, we've got managed money, we've got, land banking, we've got those options for that lump sum of money. If they've got monthly money,
We throw that out there. Make sure they know what lump sum money means.
Lump sum
We
means a
throw
lot.
phrases around. I know,
Monthly
but
money means you can afford to set aside $500 a month, and you can do that monthly, right? If you're paying an extra 3% your 401k, and we say don't do that, and you stop that contribution, that gives me an extra 3% of monthly money that you can go out and do something with. Lump sum money means you literally have a lump sum, whether it's in your savings account, your 401k, an old 401k, an inheritance, anything like that. What are we going to do with that? So in step 5 in building wealth, that's what I'm looking at in that section. In that section, I'm looking at IULs. I'm looking at annuities. I'm looking at land banking. I'm looking at managed money. I'm looking at those pieces that will build wealth for them. I promise you, if you take these 6 steps and you make it as simple as what product fits here, and then you look at them, if they can only set aside $200 a month and they're 60, you don't need to talk about an IUL, because they can't afford one. It doesn't make sense to them, right? So you're going to teach them how money works on their money, what they can do, what they can afford to do. And then step 6 is what? Anybody want to tell me? Not Gail? You're cut off. What's step 6?
Preservation of wealth.
Preservation of wealth, right? Preserving their wealth. What goes in that section?
Net law, right?
Net law. It's a will and a trust. So on my form, when I send it back in step 6, if they do have a will or a trust, I say, great, then you need to double check this on an annual basis, sit down, review your will and trust to make sure you don't need to make any updates. If you don't have a will or a trust, guess what goes on that beautiful little form? And I also send them via email, my net law link. Right? And I say, hey, you also need to make sure that you put this in place. It's important to have not just a will, but also a trust to make sure that you don't put that burden on your family to have to go to probate. But you also need financial and medical powers of attorney. And this does it for you from the comfort of your home, $600, stroke of a pen on a computer for you and your spouse. And you get a pet trust too if you've got pets, right? Easy peasy. I've literally gone through every single section of their financial life. I've given them education on every single piece of their financial life. I've probably, in steps 1 through 3, we don't make any money on that, right? I don't make money unless they come to work with me on increasing cash flow. I don't make money teaching them how to control their debt. I don't make money teaching them on emergency funds. But step 4 is proper protection. I will sell them the life insurance that they need based on the dime, because I've taught them, right? Step 5 is building wealth. I will sell them whatever they need in that section to build their wealth, to make sure that it's going to help for them. And step 6 is estate preservation. I will sell them a net law link, a net law plan, if they don't have one in place already. So if you go through this, and again, it's just like what Greg said earlier, it is not what you say. It is how you say it. It is making sure that they know that you're invested in their life and their future and their plan. You're teaching them and you're empowering them. I don't want to, and I joke about this all the time, right? Most financial advisors are old middle-aged men sitting in a mahogany office in a three-piece suit with a really tight tie, that they're talking to me like they're a brain surgeon, right? They're making me feel dumb. I've been in this industry for 22 years, and still, if I go out and sit down with some of them, I've had securities licenses, I've been a branch manager, Zach's got a 65, we've done all of the things in the securities world and everything, but they make me feel dumb. Imagine how they make your clients feel. Right? I want to empower our clients to understand how money works so they make their own choices through our guidance. And if you do it that way and you give them those pieces of nuggets through every single one of those sections, I promise you that they will be with you forever, and nobody else does what we do.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen. And listen, guys, stay on. Well, I got about 3 minutes more to tell you, and you do not want to miss this. I'm going to tell you something else. The reason that the way Kimberly just said is so true is that at the end of sitting down with all those fancy dancy people, no one walks out there going, I can do that. No one has ever thought that walking out of a Merrill Lynch office. You hear Kimberly, that is the feeling people leave with. A lot of people don't, they miss the secret sauce. That's the biggest thing. You give them the information, but they come out going, I can do this. That's a big deal. Okay, 2 things. Now, you're going to love this. And congratulations on staying to the end. And I'm going to always try to give you something at the end that the people missed that got off the call, because just to show you how dead on right that all that you heard today is, not that anything needs to be proven to you, but this is what I looked at last night. Literally, to 6 game-changing money habits to take in 2025. This is exactly what she just said. Automate your savings, build an emergency fund in layers, clean up subscriptions and draining your wallet, prioritize experiences over material goods, focus on reliable returns, reevaluate your safety nets. And then look at this. Hold on. The median average, what's the number one thing you got to do is increase cash flow? You do not know how real this is. The average amount a 25-year-old makes in the United States that's working is $40,000. The median. The average is $49,000. But here's what's interesting. At 35, it's up to 60. But then look at this. It never goes up. This is crazy. That's what's happening in the world, is that people are making, from 35, they've hit their ceiling in most cases on their income. I didn't realize that until I did some more research on this, and it blew my mind. Now then, to give you a great little line to take with you, you know how we always tell people that they need to be saving at least as much as their car payment? I'll give you an even better one. Now, I've reread a book that I had read once before, but I love this, and it blew my mind. The average American spends $400 a month on lottery tickets.
Wow.
That's how The Psychology of Money, that book is in the first chapter. And I know I missed it the first time. I just reread it, and I reread it 8 times before I said that number. The average American spends $400 a month on lottery tickets. So you can call BS on everybody. You can just flat say, look, you're spending $400 a month on lottery tickets. Your car payment is what? Let's talk. And though it's powerful. It's a powerful, powerful statement. So great stuff today. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Let's get after it. Invitations. And let's make it happen, guys. Own this thing. Let's go take over, push to the end of the month, and can't wait to see you again next week. Thanks.
Bye,
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.